Alrighty guys, black flag today. I'm only going to be doing a little bit of work and I'm going to have to go back into the AC. Yesterday I got frustrated from the heat. I was stumped. I had a little problem and I was ready to reinvent the wheel over that little problem because my brain wasn't working right from the heat. Luckily, I've been doing this sort of thing long enough to know that when I start thinking about reinventing the wheel, it's time to stop. Okay, so what I had to do today, this morning before I turned the camera on, because I didn't really want to break anything on camera, my first thought was this little sending unit that's giving me a fit to try to maybe bend it just a little bit to where I could get a wrench on there. Good idea, but wasn't quite enough, so I had to suck it up and take the exhaust off because I seen that there's like a mounting flange thingamajig here, so I could loosen that up and then I could wiggle the whole unit rather than take it apart. I could just loosen it up at a mount and not now rather than take it all apart. All I had to do was make one special wrench, and I didn't have an extra American made wrench, and I wouldn't even bother with a Chinese junk wrench, but this is a Japanese wrench. Japanese steel is always good. So I just had to grind it down a little bit, make it a little skinnier. And then on this side, a snap-on. You can never go wrong with snap-on, right? It's only how many dollars a week for the rest of your life? Well, these ones are paid for. My snap-on tools that I have, which consists of some ratchets and some sockets, extensions and stuff like that, and some wrenches, they belong to my grandfather, who was an aircraft mechanic, among other things, like a bush pilot and all kinds of good stuff. I could do a whole channel just on him, but before I digress, I want to get back on this, and we'll take this apart, put the new one on, then I'll re-bleed the brakes, and then I can put the exhaust back on. Oh, and quick note, on the front exhaust, I did disconnect the oxygen sensor. On the back one, my hands don't work good enough today to get in there and pull the plug apart. So I simply laid the pipe up over the top, but I got it strapped down to the crash bar. It cannot fall and then yank this thing out or break a wire or something like that. So if you do take a shortcut, remember, secure your shortcut, because if it falls off, you're fucked. Okay? Anyways, so I'm going to rearrange the camera. I'm going to show you how I did this, and then like I said, I'll put the exhaust back on, and then we'll move forward. Alrighty guys, I'm sure you can't see it, but this here's got a nut that is part of the tubing to the brake system. So I'm going to put my little homemade wrench on that. I'm going to take my snap-on, I'm going to put it up, slide it up on there, and here we go, easy peasy. Now of course you know I haven't loosened that up. Alright, this black stuff here is a synthetic anti-rust, anti-seize type stuff. I want it on the back side of it, so we'll just simply put it up in there. Screw it in as tight as I can with my fingers. Oh yeah, that's right, the new one's a bigger one. We'll be right back, folks. wrench. I didn't want to take the time to cut it like a hydraulic wrench, so we'll just see what I can do. I just kind of took the roundness off it. It's a little flatter. It should get up in there easier. I'm going to try a different thing here, guys. That just sucks. Okay, I just had to look at it for a second. Put a little shim up in there. Pushed it right down. Now I can tighten it up the rest of the way. Easy peasy. That feels pretty good and tight. Whoop, whoop, what am I thinking? Oh, crap. A little bit of dielectric grease so those things will come off easier if I ever got to change this again. Considering I don't ever want to sell the bike, I'll just keep it running and rebuild it. So I would say next time I do this. Okay. So and just like that, now I'll just tighten everything back up and I will put the exhaust back on. Actually, my little doodad's right here. Got to break out my T-wrench. Okay, so. Oop, get in there. So yeah, the Drag Specialties aftermarket one is just as good, maybe better, or at least just as good as the original equipment. But the original equipment one is a smaller sending unit. Oh well, it's all good. Excuse me, it's all good. And these were made in Germany. Okay, no, actually, I'm sorry, Poland. Well, good. I'm good with that, and I'm not even going to say why. I shouldn't have to. But yeah, okay, I will. If you go over to and check out the Polish motorcycle scene, it's pretty badass. So I'm sure these people take great pride in what they do. Anyways, let's finish this up. Alright guys, I just took out the rear exhaust gasket. Now I know why the motorcycle was popping once in a while. I thought it was probably just bad gas. Let me get my flashlight so you can see this. Right, this was next to the motor. This was this was in the exhaust port. As you can see, the gasket's pretty shiny except for one little spot. It was leaking slightly there. Only time I really noticed it is when I'd let up on the gas, like coming to a stop and whatnot. I always just thought I had shit gas. Well, oh, and it's ripped from me using a needle nose pliers to pull it out. But yeah, had a leak. Will not have a leak when it goes back together, that's for sure. Alrighty Alright guys, so I got the brakes bled out. Everything's ready to go back together. I want to show you the proper reservoir level for the brake fluid. We'll button things up and I'll edit what I got already. I'm done with this heat. I need to rest. So let me show you this here real quick, guys. Okay, so now you got your brakes bled and you want to top off your master cylinder about 1/4 inch from the top. I know it's kind of hard to see, but then you put your cover back on and use some anti-seize on your screws. Trust me on that. And I use a product made by Valco. It's a synthetic anti-seize lubricant. It's a lot of things, and if you need something that you want to take out later, use this stuff, please. It is a lifesaver. If you work on vintage bikes, you most definitely want to use this. It'll make your life so much simpler when you go to take it back apart. And plus, it sort of half-ass works as a Loctite, but trust me, whether you're working on a new bike or an old bike, anti-seize along with Loctite as needed is very important. And now when you put that lid back on, make sure it's properly seated, put it down finger tight, and then give it another 1/2 turn on each screw, and that should be plenty tight. And then all you got to do is wipe it off real good and you are ready to go. So new brake shoes, new clean fluid, brand new pressure switch. Everything's good in the hood. Now the bike will safely stop at any speed. And just like that, we're done. Now the tail light, as you can see, is working perfect. Oh yeah, one more to go. These are vintage FXR fishtail pipes. I'll never use them. I don't have an old FXR, so I'm cutting these off, and I think we're going to make a custom exhaust for silver. Not only yeah, but hell yeah. Alright guys, it will be something about like this if I do this. what did I say about reinventing the wheel? Well, it doesn't always apply, but I'm going to look into this. If I can just get away with a couple of extension reducer type things and whatever type of P-clamp I would need to clamp to the original bracket, I'm going to do this. If not, I'll just slide the regular mufflers back on and everything will be good in the hood. Alrighty guys, I was going to do a little more, but it's just too hot. Today is another Black Flag day. And after cleaning up the pipes because of the surface rust that was on them, they needed to be cleaned. I plan on painting them with either some silver high temp paint or some white high temperature paint. And then I'll see about taking care of the rust on the backs of my heat shields. This is the one that goes up here. And I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to put the aftermarket mufflers that's already on it back on it, or I'm going to see how complicated it would be to put these mini fishtails on there. I'm thinking all I need is some kind of double union, some clamps, some spacers and straps to get that strapped on there to the original mounts, and I'd have me a pair of fishtails. And looking through them, they have the same style baffle that the other pipe has, so it won't be any louder. It's just that it will have the fishtail sound. So it's a very good possibility that that's what's going to happen. I know I said I was going to do the mirror today. Too hot. When I turn the camera back on, next episode we'll do the mirrors and a couple other small things. Probably paint my pipes. And by the time I get the paint, I will know whether it's justifiable putting those on or not. So appreciate you watching, guys, and the struggle continues. See you on the next one. Appreciate you watching.